Hello, I'm Charles Kovess, Australasia's passion provocateur. Welcome to this week's episode of the Charles Kovess Show, whether you're watching on Rumble or YouTube or listening via one of the many podcast platforms. This is episode 208. I'll discuss 2 or 3 local or global issues that impact on you and me, and then explore how the self-awareness and passion quest principles can help you to elegantly and effectively handle these issues in the context of your life. I'll also share some resources that I consider will be helpful in handling these issues. The show notes give you links to my background and to the foundational principles of this show, and also give you links to our websites kovess.com and charleskovess.com, where you can find my books, links to my passion speeches, including the Self-Awareness and Passion Quest and other programs, and many extra free resources. So let's go with this week's big impact issues and how to handle them using the Self-Awareness and Passion Quest principles. The complaints industry is alive and well, and the question in the context of your life is, what do you do about it when someone makes a complaint about you, or if you're unhappy about something and you think you should make a complaint? Well, the answers to this are many and varied and depend on what you want your life to be. What I do say is that your right to free speech is a crucial element, an inalienable right that you have and I have to fight for. That's why I do this show. I speak freely. I'm on TNT radio. I speak freely. And I'm going to unpack a little bit in this show what happens if you start to suppress free speech and how that becomes a significant attack on your freedoms and then a reduction on your freedoms. So the issues that are grabbing my attention now, firstly on the complaints industry, are a complaint reported on former parliamentarian George Christensen on a Christian minister who in his Christian services refuses to do a welcome to country, allegedly a tradition of Aboriginals in Australia, which is proving to be a lie. It was only made up in the 1970s, this welcome to country stuff. And the Christian minister is in Queensland. His name is Dave Pellowe, P-E-L-L-O-E. And he decided this welcome to country in his church services was a charade and is not something that he was going to participate in his Christian services. Well, what happened? One parishioner filed a complaint in the Queensland Human Rights Commission, and the Human Rights Commissioner said, we better investigate this. We better attack this Christian minister because he's not doing a welcome to country. And one of the attendees in his service has complained about it. How about that, hey? What about the 99 who didn't complain about it? What about that? I thought we lived in a democracy. One person complains. And then you say, well, how come the Queensland government's Human Rights Commission has the resources to investigate such a spurious complaint? Well, I'll unpack that reasoning in a moment. The good Christian minister has said, stuff you, I'm not going to bow to this sort of woke nonsense. And now he has to go through the problems of a hearing before that commission. Well, there is a way that you can support the Christian minister. I will be supporting him financially, but that's just a classic example, isn't it? Christian minister, one complaint. Next complaint. Julie brought this to my attention. There's a guy who mans a children's safety crossing at a school in Melbourne. They hold up a sign, stop, go, lollipop man. Well, he had a habit for many years of giving a high five to the kids who put their hands out of the car as they drove past, and the kids loved it. Well, one mother puts in a complaint to the school. The school bans the lollipop man from doing this. One complaint. 150 parents then complained about this one complainant. Now, just figure this. One complaint, years this guy's been doing this, and then the school suddenly says, we're not going to do this. We don't want anyone to make a complaint. You think about this. Why on earth would a school, a pathetic principal of a school, say, gosh, if no one's complained but one person complains, I'm going to stop this. Think about that. It's an outrageous response. It is an unthinking, it is a BS response to one person complaining about a lollipop man, and the kids love it, everyone loves it. No, one person didn't like it. And think about the person, the low self-awareness of this person, this mother who makes a complaint, and of course on the grounds, well, I assume, of safety. Oh, you can't have kids high-fiving a lollipop man, that's not safe. Well, I want you to think about, I urge you to think about the nonsense that is paraded in our country, in your country, wherever you are in the world, about safety. Let's be safe. Let's all get locked down and be safe. I want you to genuinely think about this whole issue of safety. I'm a director on the board of Kids Foundation. We teach kids to take sensible risks. But this idea that don't do anything that have the possible risk of something happening to you is so profoundly contrary to our freedoms, and it's an attack on our freedoms in the name of safety. I reject it, and I reject this model of any organisation responding to one person's complaint. Now, I want you to think about, are you going to put in a complaint? Well, I'm not saying don't complain if the majority don't complain. I'm saying if you're not happy with something that's happening, go and do some lobbying. That's what I'm doing with this show. I'm lobbying for points of view. That's how democracy works. We talk about an issue and we say, should a lollipop man do a high five? Should a Christian minister do a welcome to country every time he does a church service? I wouldn't do it. I would never do it. I'd pay no attention to welcome to country. I would never take a speaking engagement where I'm expected to do a welcome to country. I reject the whole idea of welcome to country. Third example, I've heard this in local municipalities in Victoria, where people are getting along with life, and then one neighbour makes a complaint to a council, and then the council attacks the issue, and I won't go into it now because I don't want to take too much time, but municipalities react with amazing alacrity to certain complaints made by one neighbour that no one else is bothered about, and yet at the same time, when many freedom-loving citizens rock up at councils to demand that councils pay attention, then the councillors run for cover. There are groups of municipalities where freedom-fighting citizens go in there and they want their councils to pay attention to them, and the councils say, oh, no, we're worried about our security. This complaints industry, this is good that you can complain, but these organisations that selectively respond to one or two complainants when most people are happy with what's happening have to be questioned. The next issue, to show you about the failure of complaints being acted on when they should be acted on, is with ASIC, the Australian Securities and Investment Commission. ASIC is the organisation that's supposed to regulate companies. Well, this is an Australian federal body. This also happens around the world in other regulators. 96% of complaints made by people against the behaviour of corporations is ignored by ASIC. It says we haven't got resources to investigate them. That's what a lot of these organisations do, you know. Just like the Christian minister, one person complains about a Christian ministry and they say, oh, we haven't got the resources, or we choose to investigate this particular complaint. ASIC ignores 96% of the complaints. And these are Australians who have lost money in many instances by bad corporate behaviour. And so then you say, what are you going to do about that? That's where the self-awareness, that's where the passion comes in. And you start to go, no, I'm not happy that these bodies are wrongly acting on complaints or not acting on proper complaints. So if we let these bodies get away with crap, there will be more crap in your life. Then these complaints, this is the fifth point I want to bring to your attention, these complaints, the one complainant in the Christian pastor's case, that's an attack on his free speech. He doesn't want to do a welcome to country. And then the Human Rights Commission says you have to. No, you can't run your church how you want to run it. And I want you to understand that when people stop you saying what you want to say, or you see these other attacks, so you're not going to speak up about the nonsense of the welcomed country, that fear, that stops you speaking your mind freely. And then what happens is people are walking around not speaking their minds. That is a very bad thing. And it's the classic communist playbook where you start to get scared of speaking your mind because you don't know who's going to report you to some government authority. And here's the other rub around government authorities. The bureaucracy, the technocracy is growing and growing and funded solely by debt and taxes. And these public servants, these bureaucrats, their main job in life is not making life better for you, but keeping their job. They want to create work out of nothing, so they've got a nice, cushy job. Now, I think it's our job in our local municipality, in our state governments, federal governments, in all the layers of government, to really take an interest on how your taxes are spent. And you go, I haven't got time to do that. Well, there are organisations in most countries that help people push back against such government bodies. I urge you, in the context of how you think your country should be governed, if you're happy with it, terrific, don't do anything. But putting up with crap will simply mean an ever-increasing pile of crap in your lives. I don't want crap in my life. I urge you to fight to remove the crap. And coming back to local municipalities, tell them to get rid of the crap on the roads, the rubbish, and don't deal in matters that are really not their jurisdiction. But these councillors, in many cases, they want to make a big note of themselves. They want to feel important. Local municipalities should be dealing with local issues that impact on you and me and our daily lives, on roads, on rubbish, on residents' problems. So, the complaints industry can be used as a tactic to silence you, and I urge you not to be silent. And then I urge you, if you're the one complainant about a course of action, think about whether you're just being a dodo or whether it's a valid complaint, because the majority is not always right. So that's part of the problem with democracy. Now, my guest on TNT Radio this week is John Droz Jr., D-R-O-Z, yes, Dr. Oz. John Droz, wonderful man, does amazing work in investigating problems. He's been retired for many years. You will enjoy my conversation with him. We talk about kindergarten to year 12 education in the States. We talked about critical thinking, and he's highlighting how bad the education system is in America and how the left have marched through the educational institutions as they have in Australia. And kids these days, he showed a chart produced by Dennis Prager of Prager University that in the 18 to 29 demographic in the US, all 50 states at the latest midterm elections voted Democrats. And in the over 45 and over voting demographic, all 50 states had a majority of Republican voters. So over 45s, 100% of the 50 states were blue. 18 to 29 age group, in that age group, a majority of them, 100% for all 50 states, a majority voted Democrat. What does that show you? It shows you that the left influence on education is profound. The socialist, Marxist, leftist, government control movement is alive, is pushing through, teaching people that government running things is the good solution. That, in my view, is a disaster, because it's all about taking away your freedom in the name of good government, big government. That's communism. That's socialism. I reject it. My resources this week are John Droz's Media Balance newsletter. Look up the Media Balance newsletter. It's an amazing newsletter. He talks about C19, climate, elections, election integrity, education, renewables to religion. It's a wonderful, wonderful resource. I've been a subscriber to many years. I know John personally through the medical doctors for COVID, ethics, and so the Media Balance newsletter. And then John has got an excellent Substack on critical thinking. And the Substack is criticallythinking.substack.com. That's well worth also subscribing to. So by bringing you these resources that are useful to look at, it gives you a whole new source of good information. My other resource for you is the Light Australia newspaper. Edition 13 just came out this week. Almost 2 million of these physical newspapers have been distributed around Australia, and you can look at all 13 of these issues on the Light Australia website, thelightaustralia.com. My lights have failed. It obviously means I've got to go. Thelightaustralia.com. Excellent paper. I would tell you what the articles are, but you can find them online. All right, that's it. The complaints industry attacks on your free speech. Think about it. What's appropriate to complain about, and what should you be complaining about to your local, state and federal governments? And by the way, in my experience, when you complain to federal politicians, they just ignore you. Like, it's remarkable. They just ignore you. That's another topic. Should they ignore you, or should they pay attention to their voters? So I hope today's show makes a beneficial difference to your life, a life that I believe is meant to be all that you are capable of making of it. That's why passion is so important, because when you're passionate, you've got the energy to do these things that I'm talking about. You're not too tired. And then you say, I want to look after my body. I want to be in great health so that I can fight the fights about which I am passionate. If you're new to the show, check the show notes. It has links to the foundational principles of the show and details about my background and links to my 2 websites. Thanks for watching or listening. And until our next show, may your week be full of health-giving and energy-giving passion, challenge, a willingness to embrace the challenge, fun, and ever-increasing self-awareness. Have a great week. See you next week. Bye.